Are you afraid of Russian invasion? Are you afraid of Russian tanks rolling on the streets of your hometown? Are you afraid that the Germany 1945 will happen again and you will be forced to fight those tanks armed with nothing but a cheap rocket launcher? Well, have no worries, because I will show the weak spots of every modern Russian tank and where to aim to destroy those pesky Russians. But before we start, a word from my sponsor.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is a military vehicle combat online game. It is free to play on PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Not to mention that it is cross-platform between PC and consoles. The game features an incredible arsenal of more than 1500 historically accurate playable tanks, aircraft, helicopters and ships from 1930s to 1990s. Best thing about the game are its realistic physics and one of the most detailed and immersive vehicle damage models in gaming. If you use my link to register, you will receive a bonus, a premium vehicle, tank, aircraft or ship, as well as a 3-day account boost. The game is completely free, so nothing is stopping you. You can start playing immediately.
Okay, for now Russia operates with T-72B3, T-72B3 model 2016, T-80U, T-80 BVM, T-90A and occasional T-14 and T90M tank. All of those tanks are equipped with explosive reactive armor, which can be pretty irritating to deal with, especially if you're armed with a rocket launcher. Let's start with the easiest one, the T-80U. This is the oldest tank still in service in Russia. The tank was introduced in 1985 but was mostly produced during the 90s. Let's first take a look at the weak spots from the front. Since the tank does not have thermal sight, it still has to rely on an infrared searchlight for night vision, and because of that the infrared searchlight occupies the right side of the turret where additional ERA block could be placed. This is where you would want to aim at, since there is no ERA present behind the infrared searchlight. It's a perfect spot to achieve penetration. What also works in your favor is that the gun mantlet is also weaker than the actual armor of the tank and has no ERA placed over it, so this entire area could serve as a perfect target. Given of course that your projectile can penetrate as much armor, some 500 to 600 mm of penetration should do the trick. But there is a problem with this. Since Russians done studies after the 1991 Gulf War, they concluded that the ammunition in the turret is the main reason for the catastrophic explosions. Therefore, they no longer put extra ammunition in the turret. And therefore, if you manage to penetrate the tank in previously mentioned area, you will not necessarily destroy it, but you can achieve a critical hit by either killing the commander or knocking out the main gun. Now we move down to the hull. Since the entire hull is covered with ERA, it can prove very challenging to penetrate it, but it depends of course what kind of a projectile you're firing. If it is a more modern tandem-shaped projectile which has another shaped charge in front of the main one, you wouldn't need to worry that much. But still, if you have to aim for the weak spots, the best place would be right at or slightly under the driver's vision blocks. That's because the armor is slightly cut to allow the vision blocks to go all the way down to the driver. Ultimately, you can aim at the very hard to hit lower plate, which is designed in such a way that it is almost impossible to hit. It's especially hard on T-80 tanks since they have rubber skirt hanging over it, so it's even harder to determine its exact size. Even if you do manage to hit it, it would probably not do much. You would either injure the driver by hitting his legs or end up hitting the fuel tanks, which would most probably eat up what remains of the projectile after penetration. Nevertheless, hitting under the vision blocks can be very useful against T-80U. You see, in T-80 tanks the charges are placed vertically in the autoloader's carousel, so a frontal penetration to the hull can prove deadly. Of course, you should try to avoid the fuel tanks since they can provide additional protection. Of course, at the end of the day you can shoot the tracks and the gun of each of those tanks, and a hit to the rear to the hull is always going to kill the engine. The sides are a little less tricky and it would be your best bet to prepare an ambush for the tank and shoot the sides, since the front part of the side is protected with ERA panels to protect the tank from shots coming from 30 degrees angle. But the ammunition is not protected when shooting it directly from the side. The area of the turret with no ERA protection can also be a target. Next one up is T-72B3. The weak spots are pretty much similar to the ones of T-80U. but there are some important factors that should be considered. The tank doesn't have an infrared searchlight, but there were some problems with the ERA block in front of the main gun sight causing some problems, apparently for the thermal sight, so that one is absent. Therefore, you have pretty much the same situation as with the ATU, just on the opposite side. The vision block area is also smaller than the one of the ATU, since the tank only has one a bit larger forward-looking vision block. Therefore, the weak spot area is much smaller. The most important thing to note here is that the ammo is not placed in the same way. The charges in the carousel are placed horizontally, and pretty much every T-72 tank has some armor plate above the carousel to protect from shrapnel. Therefore, you would have to aim much lower than you would for the ATU. The side weak spots are again the same as with the ATU. Next on the list is T90A. T90 tanks use T72 tanks as bases, so the ammunition is placed in the same way as in T72B3. Keep that in mind. On the frontal protection we have some differences. The tank has a new welded turret which increases protection, but it has dazzlers placed on the turret, and because of that, a big portion of the turret does not have ERA protection. If you must shoot the tank from the front, this would be a good area to aim at. The hull weak spots are identical to the ones of T92B3, as well as the sides. Now we come to some more challenging components. First, let's look at T72B3 model 2016. This tank is pretty much T72B3 tank, which has most of the weak spots taken care of. The weak spot in the turret is now gone, since additional ERA block has been added. So your best bet would be to shoot at the gun if you must engage a tank from the front. Keep in mind that all the tanks I've talked about so far are equipped with Contact 5 explosive reactive armor, including the T72B3 to 2016. Therefore, a lot of tandem-shaped projectiles would be able to penetrate even the front of the tank, wherever you hit them. But there is something different about T72B3 model 2016. The sides are equipped with ERA completely, and not just any ERA, the kind of ERA that affects even the tandem-shaped heat. The turret sides are equipped with 4S24 blocks, which are made to deal with any kind of heat projectile with no chain detonation and without any risk of damaging the vehicle, hence why you can sometimes find even the low armored vehicles equipped with such ERA. The sides of the hull are equipped with so-called relict side skirts, full of relict ERA, which also works against tandem-shaped projectiles. The tanks can also be equipped with bags of 4S24 blocks over the relict side skirts, making it impossible to kill with most of heat projectiles, including the more powerful ATGMs, even if hit directly. So this tank can prove a tough nut to crack. If you're armed with a tandem-shaped heat, shoot the front of the tank, that is your best bet. And if you're not, well, I'm afraid there isn't much you would be able to do. Next one is even trickier. It's the T90 Bbm. On top of having the same side protection as T72B3 model 2016, the front is equipped with relict ERA, which, as I mentioned before, can affect even tandem-shaped heat. It can't stop tandem-shaped heat completely, but will affect it to some extent. The T90 Bbm has a problem of having worse base armor protection than all of the tanks in this video. Therefore, a hit from a powerful tandem-shaped projectile could destroy it. Also, keep in mind that since this is a T80 tank, the vision block area is larger and the charges are placed vertically in the carousel, so the tank still has some weaknesses. But our next opponent can prove close to impossible to destroy with existing launches. It's T90M. The tank has been reported to have passed the state trials, so we can probably expect more to be made. 60 have been confirmed to be in Russian army for now. But let's get back to topic. The tank is equipped with relict explosive reactive armor on the front and has the same type of side protection as T72B3 model 2016 and T90 Bbm, which makes the tank a tough nut to crack. Since the tank's front is equipped with relict, which is also present on T90 Bbm, there isn't much you could do to penetrate it. The tank's base armor is far superior to the one of T90 Bbm, and together with Relic can prove impervious to vast majority and if not all tandem-shaped heat projectiles. Your rocket launcher or ATGM can prove to be useless against this tank. What also works against your favor are the tank's internal survival upgrades. The tank has armament cover all over the insides, which is there to catch shrapnel coming from the armor and the penetrating projectile. This limits the area effect of the penetrating projectile. Another big issue is the armor upgrade of the carousel. Now it is full armor from 360 degrees and has improved protection. Therefore it is extremely hard to deal with, and the mix of armament cover and the upgraded armor would mean you'd have to hit it directly with something a bit more powerful if you want to neutralize the tank. But with such protection it's not really an easy task. And the last tank on the list is T-14 Armata. This one is very tough. It is equipped with hard kill active protection system, so trying to hit it with a rocket launcher will only get you killed, since the crew would be notified of the direction the projectile came from, and with the thermal sights you would be spotted in no time. On top of having the hard kill active protection system, it is equipped with the previously mentioned 4S24 on the sides and new explosive active armor on the hull front. The crew is protected in a capsule in the tank's front, and they are isolated from the ammunition which is placed behind them under the gun and is most definitely placed vertically. The turret doesn't have much protection, but all of that is useless when the tank is equipped with hard kill active protection system, which would just shoot any projectile you fire at it. If you somehow manage to drain its active protection system and get rid of ERA blocks, it would be best to hit the munitions, since that would probably cook the firing mechanism as well and would probably render the tank useless. But my suggestion is, if you ever have to engage this tank as infantry, just don't. Leave it to the tanks. They would have better chances of dealing with it. Not great chances, but much better than a guy armed with a rocket launcher.
Don't forget to check out War Thunder, where you can take control of many land, air or naval vehicles. Use the link from the description to get a premium vehicle and a 3-day account boost when you register. Remember, the game is completely free for PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Just download and play.
At the end, earlier Russian tanks such as T-80U and T-92B3 can be pretty easy to deal with, but tanks such as T90M and T-14 are very tough nuts to crack. For now, those tanks are only present in low numbers, but at the time of me making this video it was announced that T90M has passed the state trials and that the state trials of T-14 should be finished until the end of this year. Should. Anyway, that would be all. If you like my content, you can consider supporting me on Patreon, and if you can't, just leave a like on the video or subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a nice day.